Hello, everybody, and either welcome or welcome back to my podcast. As always, I'd like to remind everybody, if you do like this, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Spotify. Oh my God, where do we even start with this week? It has been absolutely insane this week, and it's only Thursday, which means we still have another solid 24 hours to go in this week. But let's go ahead and start with Monday, Labor Day, and kind of what happened late in the day on Labor Day. I see what you did there, Nike. But news dropped that Colin Kaepernick is going to be one of the faces, but it seems like Nike is really pushing him as the face of the 30th anniversary of the Nike Just Do It ad campaign, which, of course, made everybody on social media, on the internet, in media, everyone, everywhere, just completely and utterly lose their shit. Because, of course, anything involving Colin Kaepernick just makes everybody just, lose their minds. I don't thoroughly understand why. Because I know I've talked a little bit about this, but kind of my thoughts on Colin Kaepernick is I have never understood why people feel so viscerally about this guy. I don't get it. Can somebody explain it to me? Because I don't really understand what he did that was so wrong that makes people so angry every time they see him. As far as his protests were concerned, I've got no issue with his protests. Obviously, inequality is a problem that's worth being brought up. Police brutality is definitely a problem worth being brought up. And it's not just something in the Black community. I think it's something that everybody needs to discuss. And, as far as protests, it's a non-violent protest. How much less violent can you be than just sitting the hell down to protest something? I don't get everybody getting so pissed off because he sat during the Skycloth song. The football man, he took a knee and he didn't stand up for the song, and now he's a bad man because he made me feel bad. And I'm just like, why? Why do you care? I don't get it. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Obviously, I support nonviolent protesting. I think that that's absolutely fine. Like I said, I have no issue with what he is protesting. I think it is something worth bringing up and protesting. But even if I didn't agree with what he was saying, it's his right. It's his right as an American citizen to protest in a nonviolent way whatever grievances he has with his government. It's right there in the First Amendment. I don't really understand why this is controversial. And I don't understand why people keep trying to make it be something other than what it is. And the second part of this, and I think it kind of explains the first part, is I don't get why people keep trying to make his protests be this personal affront to them. Unless you are a law enforcement officer who is engaging in brutality, this isn't about you. It's not aimed at you. He's not talking to you. It's not about you. It's not for you to like it or dislike it. It's not even really for you to have a strong opinion one way or another. It's his right as an American citizen to nonviolently protest, and that's what he's doing. So I don't understand people just, I don't get it. I don't understand this insane, visceral, just rage reaction that people have. And of course, that visceral rage that people have towards Colin Kaepernick is now being carried over to Nike, where now you have people setting their Nike stuff on fire. You've got people chopping swooshes off of their socks and their shorts, and it's yeah, you're really showing them, guys. Destroying property that's yours, that you already paid them money for. That's wow. I'm sure it's keeping them up at night. I'm sure it's really, really hurting Nike's feelings that you're, setting your shoes on fire. Come on, guys. That's fucking stupid and infantile. And it's just, it's so ridiculous. The whole thing is just so dumb. And the second thing that I see people kind of bring up about this is, oh, it's going to cost Nike money. It's really? Nike is a massive, multi-billion-dollar international corporation. Do you really think they didn't sit down and crunch the numbers on this and sit and figure out what this is going to cost them versus what this is going to gain them, and then say, you know what? Yep, run it. because that's exactly what they did. And to everybody who is protesting this and is doing dumb shit like setting your stuff on fire, understand, Nike is not trying to reach you right now. They're not talking to you. They're talking to the people who support Colin Kaepernick. And those people are going to be typically younger, the coveted 18 to 34 demographic that every advertiser and every company wants to reach. And those are going to be the people that, when it does launch, I've seen rumors that this is not just simply like a spokesperson campaign. Like, Kaepernick's going to get paid off of this. Like, he's getting paid a lot of money to do this. They're going to give him his own line with his own merch. Like, he's going to have his own shoe, I think. They're going to put out jerseys. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of other merch. And everybody who supports Colin Kaepernick and his cause is going to go buy the merch. So, yeah, like, Nike's not going to lose off this. Nike's going to gain so much off of this. And even if you subtract all the money that they're going to make off the merch, when the fuck was the last time anybody talked about Nike this much? I mean, sure, they're nice shoes. I bought a couple pair, but it's not, nobody was talking about Nike before this happened. So that is actually the hallmark of a great ad campaign, is when people start talking about your company. And speaking of the ad campaign, tonight is the first night of NFL football. It's Thursday Night Football is back, everybody. Woo-hoo. No, God, I cannot emphasize how much I hate Thursday Night Football. But Nike has bought ad space to advertise during Thursday Night Football, and they're going to run the new Colin Kaepernick ad for the Just Do It campaign. So, first of all, Nike, I see you, you fucking savages. That's just, y'all, I see you. I see what you did there. That's funny. But second of all, again, this, I mean, it's a social justice thing, yada, yada, yada. But overall, it's an ad campaign, and it's meant to sell merchandise, and it's going to do that, whether you like it or not. So, yeah, I think it's a fine move by Nike. I know there's a lot of people who have had issues with it, obviously. And something that I kind of wanted to talk about before we bounce out of this, and that is kind of to touch on the politicization of everything that I don't think I've ever really discussed here with you guys, but I think this situation right here, just to say something a little bit negative about it, is kind of, I think this might be where that concept of everything being political kind of starts to jump the shark. And I'm not saying anything against Kaepernick or Nike or anything, but it's always whenever a trend gets to the point where like corporations start climbing on board, that's when you know it's kind of reached its peak. So I'm not saying that this is the last time we're going to see something like this, or that this is the last time that something as silly as selling shoes is going to become political. But like I said, I think now that corporations are kind of jumping on board that kind of idea, I think you're going to start to see it get scaled back a little bit. So that's enough on that. I just wanted to talk about that because that's really where the week started, and it has not gotten any less ridiculous. Moving on to our next circus of the week, and that is the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings, which, in case you don't know or somehow have managed to not follow all of this, Brett Kavanaugh's SCOTUS confirmation hearings started on Tuesday, and honestly, it's such a clusterfuck. I mean, really, it's so dumb. So much of everything that's happened this week is just pure fucking stupidity and grandstanding and people just trying to show off, because honestly, if the confirmation hearings are starting now, he's going to be confirmed before the midterms. I don't see any way that the Democrats can possibly drag this out until November. I mean, we're just now in the beginning of September. So there's no way that this isn't happening before midterms. I mean, Republicans have the numbers. They have the 51 votes. Obviously, as everybody tried to warn Democrats when they did this before, you took filibustering off the table. You put the nuclear option on. So now, yes, they can pass this with 51 votes. There's no way Democrats can stop it. So that's what just makes this whole thing, like, really annoying to me. Like, this is really getting on my nerves. And I don't thoroughly know why, because I mean, of course this is going to be a circus. And of course there's always going to be idiots who want to try to make this, like, their moment in the sun. But just, This time around, I don't know why, but it's just really getting on my last nerve. And I think it's because word came out that on Sunday, there were already plans by Democrats to basically just not even remotely take this seriously. And that's my problem with this, is like, okay, you know, I have no love for Congress, but they exist. And they get paid a lot of money to do their jobs. And it would be nice if maybe you could possibly treat this particular aspect of your job, the actual confirmation of a Supreme Court justice, somewhat seriously and try to approach it in good faith. Because it's like Democrats have decided that this is just going to be showboating and grandstanding and people trying to make their case for 2020. Kamala, Corey, looking at you too. But yeah, it's so blatant and transparent this time around that it's like they're not there to actually like ask Kavanaugh serious questions and listen to serious answers and then they like go and think, hey, is this guy going to make a good Supreme Court justice or not? It's just basically party bullshit. And like I said, this is just getting on my nerves for some reason. Like I don't, it should be completely expected. I should completely expect it, and I do, but it's annoying me this time. I can't really thoroughly pinpoint why. Maybe it's just I'm getting to that point in my life where sometimes certain shit just gets on my nerves. But that's where I'm at with that. And kind of the second thing I wanted to discuss in conjunction with that is the protesters. These whining LARPers who want to show up and keep disrupting the confirmation hearings, which first of all, don't do that. Like, come on, man. Don't show up and interrupt Senate proceedings. That's fucking rude and stupid. It gets you nothing. It makes you look like a fucking idiot. Shut up and let them do their jobs, for Christ's sake. But what seems to be the issue here is this idea that somehow Kavanaugh, I don't know how or why or how anybody got this into their head, that somehow he is just magically going to be confirmed as a Supreme Court justice and overturn Roe v. Wade, I guess, all by himself as soon as he's confirmed. I don't know. I don't know if these people thoroughly understand what would have to happen for Roe v. Wade to be overturned. But here is now a good time to discuss the fact that this is why we have 3 branches of government. And this is why the judicial branch should not be making law. And also, the executive branch should not be making law through executive orders for this very reason, that all of a sudden, unelected officials, or even in the case of EO's elected officials like the president, can just easily overturn these things. That's why we have a legislative branch of the government. They're the ones that are supposed to make the laws, and that is a body of elected officials who have to write legislation and then vote on it and pass it and get it approved like you're fucking supposed to. That's why they exist. And I'm pro-choice. I don't want to see Roe v. Wade overturned, but I'll go on record as saying it's bad law, because it's not law. It's a Supreme Court decision that opened the door for something, but it's not a law, and that's the problem with it. They should not have been in the position of doing the legislative branch's job. And it's something that you're starting to see more and more and more lately, is the legislative branch punting their jobs either to the judiciary or to the executive branch. And the best way to get past that is to expect Congress to do their fucking jobs and pass laws, and don't leave it up to the other 2 branches of government to do your dirty work for you. Then we don't have these problems. Then you don't have to worry about whether Kavanaugh being there is going to overturn Roe v. Wade, because guess what? It wouldn't fucking matter, because it wouldn't be their decision. Like, that's why is this difficult? Why is this so difficult for some people to understand? But that's my rant on that. Is like I said, I have no problem with Roe v. Wade. I am pro-choice, but I mean it's not settled law. It's not even law, and just this whole conversation doesn't even need to happen, especially since I don't see where Kavanaugh has ever said that he would be interested in overturning Roe v. Wade. And even if he was, like, to make that happen, like, somebody would have to take a case, get it all the way to the Supreme Court, get it in front of them, and then obviously, like, Kavanaugh is not going to be the only person deciding on this, so I don't understand the outrage and just the insanity and women dressing up like they're handmaids and going there and protesting and people jumping up and yelling and screaming. It's like, stop it. Just fucking stop it. You look stupid. And actually, the only people that should be showing up to protest this is anybody who gives a damn about the Fourth Amendment. Because aside from that, Kavanaugh is a pretty mainstream, basic, run-of-the-mill pick, but his Fourth Amendment opinions are awful. So all of this Roe v. Wade, all of this other bullshit, you're missing the point of where Kavanaugh would be a very bad Supreme Court justice. But of course, I guess that doesn't really play as well. I mean, I guess I don't know, like, what kind of LARPing roleplay thing you would do to go protest Kavanaugh's decisions on the Fourth Amendment and surveillance and what the government is and is not allowed to do. I don't know. There's no cute costume for that. I guess I don't think you could come up with a very catchy slogan. But yeah, I mean, outside of libertarian circles, this dude is just, he's milquetoast. Like, he's just basic. Like, yeah. Anyway, enough about him. Let's move on to the other circus that is happening in Congress this week. And that is, for some reason, I don't thoroughly understand why, they are once again holding hearings on, like, internet, social media, fake news stuff. And why do they keep doing these? Like, this is so fucking stupid. Like, it's not even your purview. Like, why are you even having an opinion on this? But the funniest thing about this to me is that Jack from Twitter has shown up. I think Sandberg, I don't think Zuckerberg is there. I think Sandberg is there from Facebook. I'm not quite sure. I don't think YouTube sent anybody. But I know for sure who didn't send somebody. Google didn't send anybody. And so somebody's petty ass decided to just go ahead and, like, set up the little spot where the Google representative would be sitting and just leave the empty chair with the nameplate, which I'm just like, what the fuck? I love Google now. Because honestly, I'm completely with Google on this one. Like, why? Why do they need to send somebody? Why do they need to participate in this at all? Like, you're not subpoenaed. This isn't like a criminal hearing. This isn't anything. It's just Congress wanting to, I don't know, waste time and money talking about something that doesn't even concern them. So yeah, I'm on the Google am I being detained train, and I support them not sending anybody to this. And probably the best and easiest way to stop these stupid bullshit hearings from happening is if nobody sent anybody. If Twitter didn't send anybody, if Facebook didn't send anybody, if Yahoo or if anybody else who was being asked to send somebody just sent nobody and was just like, fuck you, I'm not talking to you, like, I owe you nothing, then, you know what, this would probably stop. But what this has done, and again, here we go with the protesters, but this time around we've got more high-level protesters. We've got a little more famous protesters, like Alex Jones and Linda Sarsour, who have shown up, and I'm sure everybody has seen at this point the interview that some outfit was trying to do with Marco Rubio. I'm not entirely sure, but basically Alex Jones just crashes it and heckles him through the whole way through it. And I'm sure everybody has also seen the C-SPAN footage of the congressional hearing. And Linda Sarsour gets up and starts yelling some nonsense about how the president needs to save them from the Jack trying to influence the elections. And there's one dude, I forget his name, forgive me, but they pick him up on C-SPAN mic, where he's like, I can't understand what she's saying. What is she saying? And then he just launches into, like, this whole auctioneer thing. Like, apparently he was an auctioneer, and it's hilarious. But it's like, what is this supposed to accomplish? Like, what are you doing? Like, this is so dumb. It's so useless. It's more grandstanding on everybody's part. It's grandstanding on the people who are deciding to hold the hearings. It's grandstanding on all the people's part who decide to come in and crash these hearings. I mean, it's just, I don't understand what any of this has anything to do with anything, because the government has nothing to do with social media. Like, they do not, and they obviously should not. So I'm not... How many of these congressional hearings are we going to have? We already had one on Facebook. Now we've got this one. Like, how much time are we going to waste on this, on the federal government level of, I don't know, talking about it? Because I don't even really know what they're talking about. Like, I know there was something brought up about fake news and about foreign governments and how, you know, Facebook shouldn't be listening to what foreign governments tell them to do, but apparently you should be listening to what the U.S. government tells you to do, which is like, get the fuck out of here. Like, no. Stop it. Stop it. But the last thing I kind of want to talk about before we bounce out of this topic is I've seen, obviously, like, Jones and Sarzor are there. I know a couple other people are there. But this idea that conservatives, I say that with air quotes, or Republicans, or even some people that identify as libertarians, God help us all, who seem to think that the government should be doing something about this. Which, the fuck they should? No. No, 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 no. The government has no fucking business regulating social media at all, especially not in the way of deciding who gets to be on a platform, who doesn't get to be on a platform, who gets to say what. No. Go read the First Amendment. It says right there, Congress shall make no law. So why the fuck are you here, like, protesting and agitating for Congress to do something that they can't fucking do and should not be doing? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, I thought the conservatives cared about free speech, but apparently, much like the Democrats and the liberals that they like to shit on and call snowflakes and say, oh, you're for censorship and you're for this and you're for that. Well, obviously, you're for it too. So you know what? All y'all can go shut the hell up. Moving on, because we're not even halfway through our week in stupidity yet. And now I would like to move on to the Steve Bannon kerfuffle. Which, what happened, and you might have missed the story if you're not on Twitter and you don't really follow political Twitter. Basically, the New Yorker and also The Economist invited Steve Bannon to different events. The New Yorker, I guess, is having some idea summit for sniffing dude gibber. Anyway, they invited Steve Bannon, and the idea was that Steve and the editor-in-chief of The New Yorker would be on stage together. The editor-in-chief would be interviewing Steve Bannon. And he said that the editor-in-chief, I forget his name, I'm sorry. But the idea was that basically this would be going down in front of a live audience. And it would be him asking Bannon more difficult, tough questions. And obviously, because it's live and it's one of a live audience, you kind of have to, it happens in real time. You can't really do on the record, off the record kind of things. So it's like, it would be like a real thing, not like doing an interview or a piece with him where you can kind of like bounce in and out of being on and off the record, or you could ask somebody like, hey, take that out, or don't mention that, or, you know, things like that. But of course, as we are here in 2018, you can't announce something like that without Twitter completely, again, losing its shit over it. And the New Yorker, I mean, I don't even think it was 3 hours between when I saw it first announced that they invited Bannon and then disinviting Bannon. But apparently in that span of time, obviously Twitter lost their shit. A bunch of people threatened to pull out that were not as interesting as Steve Bannon. Anyway, like, I wouldn't be going there to see, like, Jimmy Fallon or Jim Carrey or anybody like that. I'd be going there to see Steve Bannon. But, so they rescinded their invitation, but The Economist did not rescind their invitation, and they put out a nice little letter, as a nice little, like, The Economist, very nice, calm, soothing tones. that basically told everybody to go kick rocks if you don't like it. Now, here's my thoughts on it. Obviously, any organization would have to know what inviting Steve Bannon to your event is going to do. Like, you know what kind of a reaction you're going to get out of that. So, right there off the rip, you can't tell me that the New Yorker did not expect what happened. Like, you couldn't not expect that to happen. So, I personally think that the New Yorker never had any intentions of letting Steve Bannon anywhere near their stage. I think that was a publicity stunt to get people talking about them and their weird Idea Summit thing. I don't know what they're doing. Anyway, but I don't think that invitation was done in the same, spirit as the one from The Economist, because obviously The Economist did not rescind their invitation, and their tone is, and kind of my thoughts on the topic are too, that you don't have to like Steve Bannon, but unfortunately, as it stands, he was one of the biggest architects of Trumpism. And he still is out there in the world. I know he's been spending a lot of time over in Europe trying to get people elected and hasn't really been having much success, which that would be a topic in and of itself that somebody should be able to question him on live and hear what he has to say about it. But you don't, just because you dislike somebody's ideas doesn't mean that you get to silence them or shove them off into a corner or bully an organization into disinviting somebody if you're taking the more charitable view that that's what happened to the New Yorker. Like I said, I don't think they ever really planned on having him there in the first place. But it goes back to this whole kind of like Twitter mob idea of kind of the mob rule and dictating to, especially like, I know I talked about this a lot when The Atlantic fired Kevin Williamson, but this idea that like Twitter and even like people that work for an organization somehow get to have say in this. It's like, no, it's not for you to say. You can not go, you can dislike it. You don't get people disinvited from things just because you don't like what they have to say. And in fact, would you not, if you're genuinely interested in discrediting somebody and debunking their ideas, would you not want to have somebody go up on stage, live, real time, destroy somebody? Like, would you not want that to happen? Like, that's what I would like to see. I mean, if you think Bannon's ideas are shit, cool. Get them invited places. Let them debate people. Let them get destroyed in a debate then. Don't try to squash the debate if you think that you can win it. But that's something that I'm kind of slowly working my way through, is this idea that people who engage in this kind of activity are not actually interested in debate, no matter how much they may say that they are, because obviously you're not. You're into just having one point of view put forth and just never being challenged on it. Which, again, if you think you're right, hell yeah, I'll debate you. Like, why wouldn't you debate Steve Bannon? If you think that your ideas are better than his, then yeah, take the meat. Like, what's wrong with you? But like I said, it's this kind of little project that I'm on of understanding that, like, not everybody thinks the way I do, and not everybody sees things the way I do, or the way that we do, in like that very logical way that is a lot more emotional and more just, I don't even really know, because it's so foreign to the way I think. It's just, it's something I'm trying to work through in my head, and maybe I'll talk about that a little later on in a different episode once I kind of have more and better words for it. But moving on from Steve Bannon and his little, well, not really his publicity stunt, but I mean, it does help him too, because again, now we're talking about Steve Bannon again. But the next piece of crazy, and this is kind of the current political Twitter crazy, is the New York Times yesterday, yeah, I do believe it was yesterday, released an op-ed that was released anonymously. They did not post who wrote it. They said that it was a senior official in the White House and that they do know who wrote it. Like, I guess they vetted it. at least as far as the writer is concerned, because it is an op-ed, but so it's not like, it's an op-ed, it's not like straight journalism, but anyway. So basically, they posted up this anonymous op-ed, and, well, everybody's kind of gone crazy about it. Like, the op-ed itself, it's nothing new. Like, at this point, we have, 3 books out there on stands? We've got the Michael Wolff book, the Omarosa book, and now the Bob Woodward book, talking about how the Trump White House is completely batshit, which you don't need 3 books to figure that the hell out. But, of course, there's other people have written, like, long form, short form, tweets, posts, everything. This has been discussed so much that it's like, none of this stuff that's in this op-ed is surprising or news or anything that I would think anybody would particularly be afraid to put their name to, but that's me. But what has spawned is our new little game on Twitter, which is figuring out who wrote it. And basically, what we've been doing is dissecting this op-ed, like, word for word, trying to figure out, like, who wrote it, like, trying to, like, use these words. So who else used these words that can be construed as a senior official in the White House? Like, this is the new Twitter whodunit game. And most of the theories are kind of meh. I mean, a lot of people thought Pence did it, but Pence's office has come out and said he absolutely did not write this, which that sucks. It would have been way more fun if he did. But in the op-ed, the person who wrote it specifically used the phrase free minds, free markets, and free people, which the Reason magazine slogan is free minds and free markets. So libertarian Twitter has been having a lot of fun trying to figure out, is this person who wrote this a Reason reader, a libertarian leaning person? And that one's been fun. So that's kind of a fun little detective mystery for those of us on political Twitter. But aside from that, it's so much. People have made such a big deal about this op-ed, and honestly, like I said, there's no there. Like, there's no smoking gun. There's nothing you didn't already know. So the only thing that's particularly exciting about it is that it was posted up anonymously. What has been interesting, though, are the Trump tweets, because there's always tweets. There's always a Trump tweet. In this series, there was a series of tweets talking about how the New York Times needs to tell the White House who wrote this, like, now. And he just put up one tweet yesterday that was just, in all caps, treason? It's like, no, not treason. No, they don't need to tell you their source. They're not obliged to do any of that. Listen, no. No, Obama. No. But yeah, it's been crazy, and it's a lot to do about nothing. And it's really, the response has been way more interesting than the op-ed. I'll put it in the show notes if you want to read it, but whatever, you can skip it. You're not missing anything. But something that came down right before I started recording was, for fuck's sake, Rand Paul, of all people, said that Trump would be justified in the use of using lie detector tests to find out who wrote this op-ed, which, dude, no, he fucking wouldn't. First of all, it's not the White House's business who the New York Times source is. And I know this is a little kind of sketchier than you would normally do, and especially on the Obama cases where he was trying to get sources from investigative journalism, like people who were giving stuff anonymously and off the record and stuff like that. This is an op-ed. It doesn't rise to that level, but it's still not the White House's business who wrote it. It's none your business. None ya. You don't get to use a lie detector. Who would you even administer the lie detector test to? Like, who? Like the editor-in-chief of the New York Times? The editor of the op-ed section? Like, who would you give it to? You don't know who the fuck wrote it. So I don't get it. I don't get that one. But kind of the last question that this does bring up, the op-ed at least, is the somewhat squicky journalistic question of posting an op-ed anonymously and whether that's really good form or not. And it's a gray area. I fall in that category. It's not, like I said, it doesn't rise to the level of like when you have to protect sources when you're doing like straight journalism and you're getting sensitive information, or just whistleblowers or stuff like that, where there's people that do need to stay off the record for very serious reasons. But it's weird. You don't see it very often because usually the whole point of an op-ed is it's somebody putting their name to it. So I don't know if the New York Times should have ran it or not. I mean, it's caused this big upheaval over nothing really, and I don't know. That one I will leave to the experts because, like I said, it is a gray area. If I was running the New York Times op-ed section, I don't know if I would have ran it. I mean, there's nothing in there that would have made me feel that putting up with all the bullshit of running it would have been worth running it. Let's put it that way. Yeah. There we go. I actually managed to articulate my opinion on that one. I wouldn't have ran it. Because not worth it. Honestly, nothing new here. Nothing to see here. Let's move on. Now, to a topic that is a little more uplifting to end this very probably depressing episode. The story that has been kind of a B story this week because there's been so much other shit going on, but I'm kind of glad it's a B story this week because the last time it was an A story, just a lot of people online managed to piss me off over it. And that is that Kim Kardashian is back in Washington. She's back. She's participating in a panel on sentencing reforms, especially seems to be focused more on nonviolent drug offenses. And she is advocating for clemency for another prisoner, a man who has been in jail. He's 30 now. He was sentenced to a life sentence for marijuana and cocaine possession, and he's been in jail for 10 years already, which means, obviously, do the math. He was either sentenced when he was 19 or 20 years old. So getting a life sentence at that age is insane. And I've said this, I said this last time I talked about Kim going to Washington and advocating for clemency for Alice Johnson. I like her stance on this because her opinion, and it seems to be the way she picks the cases that she advocates for clemency for, is cases where it's obviously like, that's not right. Like getting a life sentence at 20, like nobody, for a nonviolent offense, like that's insane. Like nobody should have that. Like that's just, that's her stance. It's like, it's not okay. Like it's not right. Something needs to be done about that. And she is absolutely 100% correct. And I agree with her. And I really just, I like this Kim. I like it. It's definitely not expected, but I guess it's a testament to the fact that people are vast and contain multitudes and have interior lives, that even somebody like Kim Kardashian, who lives so much of her life publicly, I mean, obviously she has an interior life and thoughts about things that most people would not imagine that Kim Kardashian would feel very strongly about. Like, who would have thought Kim would be the one, like, continuously fighting for sentencing reform and things like that and advocating for clemency for people? Like, of all the woke celebrities, okay, Kim's the only one out here actually, like, doing something. And not just like, oh, I'm going to post some tweets, or I'm going to make a statement, or I'm going to post up some pictures on Instagram. Like, she's actually taking time out of her life and money out of her pocket and using her money, her name and her platform and her prestige to draw attention to this. And I like it. I really, really like it. I think it's a really kind, really sweet thing of her to do. Nobody asked her to do it. Nobody's making her do it. She's doing this on her own accord. And I would like it if more celebrities would actually participate in this, given that they actually do give a damn about the shit that they say they give a damn about. Like, get out there and do something. Like, you don't have to wait for somebody else to, like, do something for you. Like, you can go do it yourself, especially if you're somebody who has a platform. Like, her being there, like, and she's not the only person on the panel, obviously, but her being there draws attention to the fact that this is happening. So I like Kim. She's another one I've never really gotten the hate and the vitriol over. Like, okay, this is a woman who managed to turn a situation that was meant to shame and humiliate her into an empire. Like, what capitalist has a problem with that? Like, she won. She took a situation that she was meant to lose and she fucking won. So yeah, I don't have the Kardashian hate. Like, they do what they do. They make their money via con Dios. You figured out a way to do that. Kick ass. Do you, women. Go ahead. Whole Kardashian family. Go out there, get your money. Get your money. But I want to go ahead and end this on that note. So if you made it this far, thank you for listening. And as always, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Spotify. Take care, and until next time.